In this video, I'm going to show you the exact step-by-step process for how you can create a boatload of concepts, whether they're image ads, video ads, and really everything in between. This is going to be a template that you could get down below. It's a Google Sheet. It's 100% for free. And I'm going to show you every single step guided with a real example. We're going to basically be building ads right now. So without further ado, let's get ourselves familiar with this Google Sheet. I'll show you the brand that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to build everything together. I'm going to show you how you could expand one brief into dozens very quickly. Ultimately, this is ad creation at its finest. So starting at the very top, understanding the builder that we have here, this Google Sheet. Now, I want to mention that if you do not and have not watched the videos prior to this around what a concept is, what an avatar is, how to build your avatar, how to create your callouts, which are mechanisms, education, and offer, and the definitions that I've put together, this is going to be completely nonsense to you. Like basically, if you haven't watched those, go back and watch them and then return here, because otherwise you're going to waste 10 or 15 minutes of your life and you're going to have to come back here again anyway. So getting ourselves familiar with this template. We have our core concept, which is the third thing that we fill out. We have our template, which is the second thing we fill out. And then we have our avatar, which is the first thing that we fill out. These are the wants and needs combined with the avatar. Then we have our product callouts or our brand callouts. These are either the mechanisms, which are like the product features, or we have our education, which is the problem that we're solving, or we have our offer, the value exchange. And then finally, there's the iterations, the specific ad details. And I have a couple easy things that you guys could toggle here. Like, is this an iteration? Is this net new? What's the status, etc. So starting with our very first part, it is the avatar. This is the who. So I'm going to give you guys all an example here of who we're going to be talking about here. In this case, we're using a real example, which is going to be the brand Young Nails. I've worked with Young Nails for 7 or 8 years now. And they have a new product line that they launched. So I think this is a perfect example because this is a big brand that's launching a brand new product. So whether you're just starting out or if you're really complex, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, this is the exact template and formula that I would follow to build ads. Keep in mind, everything that I show you right here is legitimately used by me and my team at the Moonlighters for some of the biggest and smallest brands that we work with. So we're focused again on press-on nails. Now, if you don't know what press-on nails are, essentially, you could just watch this video right here. They are nails that you could stick on to your nail to make it look like you just went to the salon, right? Quick 11-second video, bang. So who is our avatar? Now, I've done some work on this, of course. We know their avatar, but keep in mind, in this section, you should know your avatar and your sub-avatars already. You should have ideas of who your avatar already is before getting here. You should also know your callouts pretty well. You should know the core product features that apply to that avatar. Without these two, it's going to be a little messy. So let's start from scratch. I'm going to show you how I build. First things first, define our avatar. So we're talking about the press-on nails. So it's going to be press-on nails for moms who don't have time but still want great looking nails. Pretty simple. But note how I don't care about, this avatar being like a perfect sentence or any sort of like two words or something like that. I'm just trying to define who it actually is so that when I go to actually build the creative, I know that this is the core of my avatar. The second thing that we're focusing on is we're going first here to avatar and we're going backwards. Second thing we're focusing on is our template. This is either going to be the inspiration or the template that we're going to follow to actually build the ad. Think of this as like what most people used to call creative concepts. So this template, this bucket, whatever you want to call it, I like to call it template. This is going to be like an us versus them. If you want ideas of templates, then we have a couple places you can steal templates. First, we have a bunch of creative templates that you can steal here. These are just different templates that dozens of brands, thousands of brands use. We're going to be consistently expanding on this. And then Also, if you go to any template, so let's just say in this case we used us versus them. If you go to this template, there's going to be a link out here that actually lets you see the actual thing that you can copy and paste, literally steal and plop in your own images for this exact template. So you can steal these on your own. Going back to here, so we have our template, us versus them. Our core concept, this is literally as simple as combining these two sentences here. So this is going to be us versus them or us versus them, period. Press on nails for moms, don't have time, but still want great looking nails. Feel free to adjust this as you see fit. What I want basically everyone to understand here is this is just the title of the brief. People get really caught up on what's the concept. The concept is this is an us versus them, and it's specifically focused on press on nails for moms who want great looking nails but don't have time, right? That's the actual concept. The reason we separate these out, you'll see a little bit later in this video, is it's going to allow us to create a lot more very, very quickly, which you'll see. Now for our callouts. Now, when it comes to actually building your callouts, again, you should have your callouts preset, right? So you should have a bank of all of your callouts. The purpose of having this bank of callouts is not so you could easily pull from them, but it's so that you have like kind of like a bankroll of things you could look at and be inspired by for yourself. Now, in this case, because it's an us versus them, we're going to focus the us on the mechanism and the them on the education, the gap, right? So the mechanism is going to be our product features that are good, and the education, the gap, the them, is going to be very focused on what does the other competitor do wrong and how are we solving that problem. Don't forget, basically all ads are problem solution. In some way, shape, or form, they're all problem solution. So when it comes to our callouts and our mechanisms here, because we are very specifically focused about the avatar, the mom who doesn't have time and still wants great looking nails, we are going to call out a couple of key things for us. We're going to say applies in 60 seconds. So really quick, really easy to do. It saves you a nail salon visit, etc. We're going to say professional grade press-ons, right? So they're high quality. We're not just selling people crappy plastic. And then we're going to say all-in-one kit. Now, I pre-made these. You will know your callouts way better for your own brand. I could come up with 1,000 callouts for most businesses if you just take enough time and think about them. So now our callouts, these are going to be very prominent in the ad. Now we have to build our iterations. Now I've pre-done these because they take a long time to actually type out. So I want to make sure it's very easy for everyone to see. Our callouts, which we have here, let me zoom in a couple times. These are way more focused on what actual ads do we want to create, right? So in this case, there's a couple options you have here. This is an us versus them and actually works a little bit different than some other ad templates, but you can call out the things that you do right, which are your callouts, versus the things that the competitor does wrong. These could be literally the opposite of what you do right. And our iteration number one will be a blank background. Now have some feel as a creator. Maybe it's not blank, maybe it's red, maybe it's white, maybe it has the hue of your brand colors and so on. The next here is another callouts versus competitor with the mom showing her nails to the camera. The next is the mom applying the press-ons. And finally, the callout versus competitor. On the callout side, we're going to show our products perfect on the nail. On the competitor side, we're showing the products slipping or chipping, something along those lines. The core thing that we need to understand here, and the reason this is so key, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for us. The reason this is so key is that we now have basically created one core concept using a template and an avatar with 4 iterations of ads. Now you can go anywhere from literally 1 iteration to 6. Anything beyond 6 gets a little crazy, if I'm honest with you. You can if you're spending a whole lot of money, but most brands beyond 6 is getting a little out of hand. So the question here is, what do we do if an ad concept is successful, right? Because this is not just about, making a concept and then having to go back to the drawing board and creating another concept. Well, I'll tell you what I like to do. When I know something works, what I do is I go to this very sheet right here and I highlight it in green. It's not that complicated. People get really caught up in having all these fancy systems. We have systems that we follow, but this is one of those cases where there's an analogy I like to use called KISS, keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, simple. Um, this is one of those KISS examples. Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, simple. If I get my words out. So the reason I highlight this green is because the concept is validated if it worked, right? So let's assume we've ran this ad. It